Hello, everyone. I was thinking about feeling and healing and about something that happens in the work that we do where we're asked to trust again, or where people ask us to trust again, or where we're asked to trust again. And what I find with trust is usually earned. And sometimes we trust in advance. Sometimes we're like, oh, I trust without even needing to to know why I'm trusting. I just have a good feeling about this, and I know that it's going to be okay because of how I feel. And we can also engage and talk about things. And know, oh well, I can hear that this person has had this experience in this area, and we might trust through that. But there has to be some way where we can connect with that trust, and we can think even about, who do I trust? Where do I trust? What do I trust? And sometimes it's really difficult for us to think about that, to think about who it is that we trust, or how it is that we um, uh, really enter into a conversation about how we feel, especially if we've been told that we're not supposed to feel, and we're not supposed to talk about things, and we're not supposed to trust. And I talked a little bit about this in my talk with Shauna a couple of weeks ago. We touched on a few of these things. And what happens if we can't talk about things is that things calcify. These things can become these little pockets in our body or in our mind or in our spirit where we are unable to share. And when we're unable to share, when we're unable to open ourselves to life and open ourselves to sharing what's on our mind, um, if that's been shut down, or if we've been really pushed down or held down or silenced or told to be quiet, or sometimes it happens with children, that children are often told that they're meant to be seen and not heard, when really it was really beautiful. One of my students, Claudia, uh, told me she came as a student, as a student in my courses. She wanted to take all of them in the same year. And she came to take the courses, and she was just like noticing American children and how American children act compared to the children in Mexico. She's from Mexico, and it still is. And she just said, Shar, it is it's really interesting that the children in Mexico are talking and engaging and laughing and running and playing. And she said, the children here seem so much like adults. Like, they don't really seem like children to me. And I just thought that was just such an interesting thing to say, that we really do need that running and that laughing and that playing. And even as adults, we need it, right? Even as adults, we need to be able to talk, to trust, and to feel. And so I was thinking about this, and if we can't trust, then what is it that's happening? We're kind of shutting down or closing things down. So how do we not? And if things were shut down or closed down in us when we were kids, or if things were shut down or closed down as adults and other relationships, then each of us is responsible as an individual to open to the world, to open to each other, to use our discernment and our ability to really attune to see who is good for us to share with and to open to and to be with. So I just thought this was something interesting to think about. There's also just how one of the things that happens is that we will feel something about a situation, a circumstance that's happening in our environment. And if we don't share that, then sometimes what happens is a wound is created, right? And oftentimes, the places where we kind of turn a blind eye, the places where we are unwilling to have the conversation, the places where we're unwilling to really face things and be direct and be open, are the places where the wounds really deepen. And so, how do we address and process those things? How do we go direct and go to the person where we've had the experience and just have a conversation? Because it can be a conversation or it can turn into something else. And so, how do we have the conversation and really do things in a way that's health engendering and that creates healthy interactions and that's healing for ourselves, for our family, for future generations? In the second half of life, this is a book by one of my mentors, Angela Sarian. It's called The Second Half of Life, and she talks about the three obstacles that are identified by Dr. Cohen um, around finding meaningful work or doing meaningful work. And one of them is fixed psychological patterns, fixed ideas, and unresolved family and social situations. And so the key is that we can resolve things. And if we can resolve things, then we can have our full creative expression. She goes on to say that that will prevent our full creative expression and Myers depression. The challenge is to consciously identify and overcome these obstacles of fixed psychological patterns, fixed ideas, fixed fixed psychological patterns, fixed ideas, and unresolved family and social situations, which are really, you know, in the way of us being in our full creative expression and being able to say the things that we want to say in the ways that we want to say them, even if that's to another person. And it could be that it's residing in other things, like in our ability to create or to paint or to storytell or to write a poem or to dance. So it's just kind of interesting to think about, oh, where are the ways in which I'm blocked in my creativity? And how can I overcome those blocks? Well, I can address the psychological patterns that are fixed. I can, if I have fixed ideas about people or places or things, how can I shift those and change those? And how can I resolve any family issues so that a new experience, so that our family, we can have a new experience and change the system in ways that are health engendering. And also in social situations, how can I resolve things and really access my creative life and my generativity, which Angelus talks about in this really beautiful book, which did win the Nautilus Book Award. Um, yeah, really beautiful. I highly recommend this. One of my colleagues and I were talking about teaching a course in this. So our work here, she says, is to connect with beauty, a major source of creativity and generativity. Beauty feeds the soul and the soul feeds the creative fire. And so how can we feed the creative fire, and how can we acknowledge what we feel and pour those feelings into our creations? And sometimes I find, I don't know about you, but I find that what I feel is a source of what I want to create, or my feelings are a doorway or a threshold into creating something and into having a new experience or a different experience, or into creating something from the invisible and making it visible. How can I make the good, the true, and the beautiful visible? And so I think about a few things, and I think about one of the things that I think about is just like sharing our gifts and our talents, but to turn toward healing, to turn toward forgiveness, to turn toward life requires some courage. And also, how do we allow ourselves to open, to share who we are, to share our gifts and our talents? You share them with trustworthy people. You share them with someone who's going to accept and not reject you. And some of us experience a lot of rejection. All of us have experienced some rejection in our lives, but rejection can be that seed of trauma. When we experience that rejection, it's one of the ways in which we will often experience trauma. So how can we avoid that trauma? Well, we share it with people who can receive us, who can really hear us, who we can talk to, who will receive what we feel in a way that is health engendering, and where we can really trust that person in that circumstance or that group, that they're going to be able to hold what we feel, but also, our feelings are our healings. And so if we can have our feelings, then that's something that can lead to our healing, and that can really even heal the soul and any soul ruptures that we may have, and mend that trauma, and resolve that trauma. If we can be seen and heard, it's one of the greatest healing powers that we can experience, is to be seen and to be heard and to be acknowledged and appreciated and accepted. That's how we experience healing, and that's how we can really fully take our place in the world. So we need to do that for each other. We need to do that for our children. Everyone in the world needs to experience that experience of being held and acknowledged, and in their feelings, and especially when they're sharing them. So feelings are healings. And the only time a wound really deepens is where we don't attend to it, where we don't mend it. Sharon Reed had said that to me in one of our mentoring sessions, that the only time that a wound deepens is where it is not mended, where we are not willing to mend and to come together and to have the conversations and to make amends. Because it's not just one person when there's an issue. It's always either multiple people, or it's two people who just need to figure something out together, and to find a cure, to find a way to reassure, or to have a conversation that may be uncomfortable, but that's necessary in order for the healing to happen. Because feelings are often not comfortable. And so how can we really move into that discomfort so that we can see the health engendering positive change that we want to see? So as Angela's talked about, generating that there's a generativity and a creativity that wants to be accessed no matter what our age is. It's the second half of life. So no matter what our age, we want to be creating, we want to be doing that legacy, leaving something that I've developed and have been working on is this idea of the cell, and how the soul needs certain things, but also the human needs certain things, and that we're made up of all of these cells, and how do we leave the benefits of those cells behind? Well, we have to access our courage in order to engage, so that we can leave a legacy of love. And any place that we haven't been loving, we're not leaving that legacy of love. And so how can we do that which is really going to allow all of us to turn toward healing and forgiveness, and the ability to really speak the truth through our generativity and our creativity. And so I wanted to read this. Speaking of generativity and creativity, this is from Honey Collections, from Medicine Media, and it's my most recent poetry book. And this is called Earth Language. And it says, "The love that was used to break you is the love that was used to make you. Leaf story speaks green language, branches fall heavy with snow and dark heat, and your slumber in the waking, cracking, aching branches. Of open heart, prune away all but is the root of what matters. Don't tell me another winter story. Nothing is barren forever. Everything offers something too. This refining, defining. Now rest in the black earth. Now rest under the white snow. Now lie your back against the stones and remember what love is as you bury yourself in the future branches. Out of your open mouth comes orange seeds. If you want them to, they will plant remembering on your mouth, and your arms will become myrtle and green laurel, dark violets, purple berries, honey, evergreen vines, singing songs come to ground. To light like a bird soul, to light like a bird soul, to love what would never willingly or knowingly hurt you, to love your own present more than the luxury of indulging in histories and broken things, barren and worth forgiving now. Rest under the love, the brittle skin winter pond above you. Now rest under the scar. Now feel how the water returns to the sky that rains down. As medicine is a tree, is the small silver petal of your mouth, the small gray stone in your teeth, a face that reflects your forgotten nature back to you in kind gestures, destroying the earth of your past, rebuilding a pathway through your chest cavity that means the well is deep and you are its only moisture. The dry reeds crackle in the winter's breathing when death is remembered in the spring, when death is remembered in the spring. And that is earth language, and that is from Honey Collections, Honey Collections. And so we can create something, we can express something that helps us to heal not only ourselves, but we can extend it into the life of someone else who may be interested in that same thing. And if we're interested in something, it's kind of guaranteed that other people will be interested in it too. And maybe we can all heal together. So talk, trust, and feel. I'll see you next Thursday.